Hello, Void. Rizzo here, and, well, we're changing it up a little bit as I'm not alone right now. So, I did have the Void voicing in a few of my previous vids. I couldn't for the life of you tell me which vids anymore because that was a long time ago at this point, but finally, of course, they're on the camera with me. So, now with the Void. And we're reviewing something a little bit off the beaten path, I suppose.
Depends on your internet circles.
Yeah.
There was a solid 6 months where this was all I saw on the internet.
Yeah, but sort of an echo chamber there, though.
True.
Anyway, so we're gonna be butchering pronunciations this entire vid, so be gentle.
We're attempting.
Yep, but none of us speak Chinese.
It's true.
I don't even speak bad Chinese. Anyway, so we're reviewing the animated version of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, or...
What that was you sure?
That's possibly how it's pronounced. Possibly, probably, maybe. So, originally this was a novelization by, we're going to butcher this again, Mo Shang Tongchu, but that's just my best. I work with a lot of Chinese clientele, and they say I'm pretty good at trying to pronounce their names, so take that as you will. It was originally an erotic novel.
I mean, it still is, yes.
Yes.
Eventually. It's an eventual smut kind of novel.
Which, despite that, somehow got adapted into both an animated series, donghua, I think is the term for a Chinese animation, and then later became a big live-action spectacle in the series called The Untamed. To save us from murdering the Chinese language entirely, I'm just going to mostly be referring to it by its translated name, Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. We have a couple of actual novels here because I don't own the physical version of the animation, so I can't be brandishing that at you and tossing it over my shoulder continually through this review, as is my typical.
I don't think they have released it over here officially.
Well, that's how much talked this before.
Yes, but it doesn't give us a physical thing.
Again, well, yes, but we did manage to find the Untamed.
True.
Anyway, plotline. You want to take this?
Oh boy. So,
yeah, that's.
Summarizing this story is an experience, and trying to summarize everyone's familial relations is even more of an experience. There are many, many uncles.
If you are not used to old school Chinese naming conventions, it takes a little while to get used to the flow of this. I will say it was even more daunting in the live action, where there's even more characters focused on, but...
So, Wei Wuxian is the main character of the novel, and the donghua follows him as well, and he essentially goes down the path of demonic cultivation, as indicated. A lot of things happen.
Well said. The series is told in sort of a almost flashback. Was it still doing that in this one?
It kind of flopped back and forth.
Okay.
It didn't have the long extended flashback of the live action, but it just kind of shifted back and forth, which is more what the book does as well.
We watched this a little more than a month ago now, and trying to piece this together because we're also rewatching the live action version, and you've actually read the book, so keeping all the continuities straight is a bit of an endeavor. This one, it's pretty much, I believe they both start at the same point of pretty much the downfall of Wei Wuxian.
They all start there.
It's pretty much...
he dies. Surprise!
Surprise!
The main character dies. That's not a spoiler. It's the first page of the book and the first 30 seconds of both shows, so...
But then it comes to 10 years later?
Book continuity is 116 once the show's... It's the book's 16 and the show is 13, or the other way around. I forget which.
Alright.
But between 13 and 16 years.
Years later, where, well, things still are not all quiet in the cultivation world, and rumors of the return of Wei Wuxian, the Yiling patriarch, abounds. And well, he's back, sort of, as a social outcast by the name of Mo.
Mo Shan-yu.
Mo Shan-yu. Essentially gave up his own life to pull Wei Wuxian back from the dead and into his body. Now, Wei Wuxian's back, has no idea why he's back, but he's going to roll with it. He knows he has to seek revenge for Mo's wishes, otherwise he'll not get rid of his scars, but he doesn't really know who he needs to get revenge on, so he's just going to do his own thing. And bumble into it as he is his wont. But then, pretty shortly after, it does a big flashback, way before even our initial scene of Wei Wuxian's death, to him coming into the cultivation world. Which, I should pump the brakes there for a second, and this series is steeped in a lot of, while common Chinese fantasy tropes, they might not be as apparent to an American audience. Much as a lot of, this show does not take the time to often explain some of them. You have to just pick it up as you go. It's sort of like our vampire and werewolf lore. We all know it so well that most shows won't bother to explain the rules for it because it's such a staple. It's sort of that kind of way here with the concept of golden cores, riding the sword, and immortal cultivators.
Yeah.
Cultivation would essentially be the essentially purification and dispatching of evil spirits and maintaining your golden core and spiritual presence, I believe.
Essentially, I'm not a Shantia expert, but those are all common tropes as far as I know.
So the main characters are essentially in training to cultivate and essentially protect the region from unclean spirits of various types. And our boy Wei Wuxian has it in his head to, rather than just purify things, maybe harness and use some of that, because that malevolence is going to be there anyway. Might as well put it to some use, right?
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate. Anyway, the main part of the beginning focuses on his time at the cloud recesses of Gusu, which is where he meets his future boyfriend.
Yes.
Now, the book doesn't imply anything. It apparently goes all
out. Oh yeah, there's definitely some straight up porn in there at the end.
Where he meets
it's very very clear.
Lan Zhan, but who is a very straight-laced, he does not emote. Well, he does very subtly. And he's grew up in a very strict area, while Wei Wuxian is chaotic Waha, mixed with alcohol. Now, due to Chinese censorship, they do not come out and say any of this, but it's surprising how much they get away with, and having the characters giving each other longing looks, particularly in live action, but that's a review for a later day. So, again, kind of the plot of this is very long. The animation covers it in about 36 episodes over 3 seasons, while the live action does it in, I believe, 55 episodes.
But that was 50, 55?
50 to 55. But the main difference there is the animation's 24-minute episodes, while the live action is about, 40 minutes to an hour or somewhere in there? So they are much longer episodes, and you get a lot more out of that one, which is kind of I guess we haven't even gotten to the main kind of plot here. So the flashback section seems to focus around the rise of the Wen family is already pretty much on top, but they begin pushing down and trying to subjugate the rest of the cultivation clans, while the other ones are getting tired of their shit and starting to band together in a bit of an uprising, where Wei Wuxian's demonic cultivation is something the other side wasn't prepared for, and makes him a key player in it. And there's a bit of an interim then, and of trying to figure out where he fits into this world, as he's no longer easily there's no one trusts him in his strange powers. He's kind of having a falling out with his adoptive brother, and there is some definite and mistakes are made involving his sister's side of the family.
Hmm.
Which turns very much the whole cultivation world against him, but it's kind of hinted that someone may be manipulating events from the shadows. Someone who doesn't come out from the shadows until, well, the second half of it, where we're back in the present. He's trying to figure out what happened back then and, well, maybe deal with stop things like that from happening in the future, as there's someone who's been working behind the scenes and is trying to flush them out. That's the broad strokes. There's a lot going on here. So, I will say this series is I can only compare it to the live action, and oh boy, is this condensed.
It is very condensed.
Which is to its detriment. It does gloss over a lot, and I know the main series actually added a lot of content for the Untamed. Here, while all the characters are present, you don't spend as much time with some of them, and some of them seem to come and go very quickly. So you don't get a chance to build up some of the relations nearly as well. And our romance section seems to come a lot more suddenly because we don't have an extra 20 episodes to build it up with.
It's hard to decide what I'd think of this if I'd seen it first. Like, I'm not sure how I would have seen it had I not already known and been fond of the source material.
It's one of those things where
it is condensed. I enjoyed watching it, and I would recommend people watch it if they liked Untamed or the novel. But I don't know if I would recommend it as the first thing people check out.
It's one of those. One person a long time ago, when I was into like a bunch of fandom musics at the time, pretty much asked me if I would still like this music if I wasn't into the fandom, because it's very niche, and whether or not I only considered it good because it was referencing something I was already fond of. And I wasn't sure how to answer that at the time, because it's kind of hard to tell because I already had that exposure, so I couldn't really say.
Mm-hmm.
Same sort of concept here.
I liked seeing it. Like, I liked seeing the tack they took with it and the things they chose to focus on, as opposed to the live action.
And seeing the animated character designs were
the character designs were really, really good. The animation's good. And they were, because they didn't have the budget constraints of a live action show and showing a lot of the more like horror aspects of it. They were able to go a little more all out with that.
I will say also they definitely did seem to get a budget boost during season 2 and into season 3. That was definitely noticeable. So even this one did seem to start with a bit of a lower budget.
Yeah, but they didn't have to like do a bunch of special effects. They could just animate things.
That is true.
Not that that's not hard, but you know, you know what I mean.
I will say the live action does have its cheesy moments.
The live action has some questionable effects at certain points.
The dog.
But that's for another review.
Yeah. Okay. So, a lot of the main characters are here in the forefront, though some of my favorite characters from the Untamed version don't get nearly as much screen time, particularly with the friendly ones.
Who's your favorites?
The friendly
Who's
ones.
your favorite? The friendly ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. They also
I'm gonna butcher their pronunciation, but I think it's Wenqing and
Wenning.
It's I actually I thought that at first, but it's more of like Nyung. Wenning. It's almost a Nyung. Is the way they pronounce it in the. I've been trying to listen closer on that one in particular. It's like almost Wennyang or Wenyang. Like they almost gloss over the ending part of it.
Mm.
So particularly when his sister's calling him. So I've been paying attention to that. And I will say, while Nihoi-san is definitely telegraphed a little bit better and a little bit more in the anime, but that could have been because we're already looking for some of his shenanigans. And
spoilers.
I'm not somebody is. And I will say his role is also much more reduced in this also. Like you don't see him a lot during the younger sides where he's, well, in the live action he's more like Wei Wuxian's bro.
Wenxing's also not in the book that much. Her role's about the same size as in the anime or
Mm.
donghua.
So I do like that the live action did extend a lot of things
Mm.
and throw an entirely new plot line in there.
They did definitely just go ham with a whole new plot line. But that's fun too. But also for the live action review, I guess.
We keep bleeding over. It's because we're
It's
watching it
hard
right
to
now.
it's hard not to. It's hard not to compare them.
Yep.
Really, I mean, they're adapting the same source material. They're taking just different routes with it.
I will say, then, despite trying to view it in the just coming out without having the companion thing, I would say it's just okay. That's pretty much the best I'd give it to. If you're already into the characters and enjoying seeing it as a fresh version of something, it does kind of elevate it a little bit because you already have that soft spot for it. But on its own, I'd say it's just kind of average. It's nothing really jumps out at it. The animation is good, but because of its time constraints, it doesn't get a chance to breathe.
I will give the animation points for adapting one of my favorite scenes from the book, or adding it in there, which the live action one didn't do, which is when he finds out that Long John's been hiding, after he comes back from the dead, he finds out Long John's been hiding liquor under his floorboards, and the whole one of the things with his clan is that liquor is forbidden and you cannot have it in cloud recesses, but he's been hiding it all these years under his floorboards, but it's been completely not touched, and the implication is that he was saving it for him, which is very sweet. And it's not in the live action, but it's a scene I really like. So
yeah. So favorite characters?
Well, Wei Wuxian is also always my favorite chaotic disaster bisexual, so so he's always good.
For me, I do really like the Wens, but Nihoi-san is just that guy. So MacGuffin scale. Do you know how I break down the MacGuffin scale on my 1 to 10 rating?
Roughly, maybe.
All right, so essentially it's divided into essentially 4 sections. 1 through 3 is bad in various degrees. Really bad, average bad, bad-ish for 1, 2, and 3. Then 4, 5, and 6, right up the middle, average. 5 being dead straight in the middle, it's okay. 4 being a little bit lacking, while 6 it's slightly above average, but I wouldn't call it good. Now, the 7, 8, and 9, pretty good. I say that fairly good, and really good. And then 10 is perfect. I rarely give out 10s, but I have done it. So, what you feel?
I think 6.
6?
6. If you like MTZS or The Untamed, I recommend checking it out. If you don't, or if you haven't seen either of those, or read those, it might fall a little lower, just because it does condense a lot, and the live action does expand a lot of things, and it adds some things, but it does it in a way that does still fit into the world and the story, so it works. So I'd recommend that as a first entry over this, but yeah, I would recommend seeing it if you like the book or the show, the other show.
I definitely would recommend it as a follow-up, but definitely not an intro point for the series. As much as it was, as the live action does just drop you in and leave you scampering trying to understand what's going on in the beginning, this one I do think eases you into things a little bit better at the beginning, but it is still difficult to, if you're not already familiar with the characters, follow in. I will say I think this one does ease you in a little bit better, but despite that, I am still a much bigger fan of the live action, and for me, viewing this one, just trying to take that one out of the equation and on its own, I still would just say it's okay and give it a 5 MacGuffin myself. So it was fine. I definitely would recommend it if you're a fan of the series, because that does elevate it and it's a fun supplement, but it's a side dish. It's not a main course.
Mm-hmm. It does stay a bit closer to the book in some aspects, like the circumstances of him dying and things like that. So if you're looking for a closer adaptation, this might be it. But I think Untamed is a better hook for people who aren't familiar with it at all, I'd say.
Well, I don't. We're ever gonna get a perfect adaptation now, are we?
Well, maybe if they can get around the censorship laws somehow. Though I am impressed at how they went for it. Like they did pretty much all they reasonably could. I think they were doing their best.
Alright, I don't think there's anything else to really touch on. The plot on this one is hard to sum up, but we kind of did our best here. Because talking about any series is always difficult for that, particularly one that actually time jumps back and forth, like this one. But, yep, 5 and 6 MacGuffins, take that as you will. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I'm good.
Alright, otherwise, check it out. But maybe after you watch The Untamed first. I think it's still on Netflix. Watch it. Alright. See you later, Void. Bye-bye.